All right, good morning. Just getting going here. Starting from our daily chart. Yesterday did close at its high. Pretty interesting. We are back to the moving average. If we were going to find failure, probably find it relatively quickly. Wouldn't expect it to come all the way back up here, but who knows? If it was going to continue to fail, that is. Maybe we do hold this low. I really don't like this topping pattern, but it is the S&P 500, so who knows? Could hold. So we still have kind of the same thought process for the long term. Now on our hourly chart, from close yesterday and overnight, we had a nice pullback to the moving average, which barely held our previous swing. We did push a new high, barely, but then got a nice engulf candle, which now has good follow through. We are holding a little bit off the moving average so far, but you know, again, this was, you know, a smaller time frame. Like this is a nice tradable trade system right here. I would short underneath that engulf candle, and I'd be looking for a new low underneath this swing point. It's how I would approach this. So we'll see if that ends up playing out. We are trying to hold from the moving average. We do have news today. We just actually had our GDP numbers that came out almost an hour ago, which were slightly above what they expected. And we still do have existing home sales and consumer confidence both at 11. So we have to be cautious around 11, not get caught in the economic release. So because of that amount of news today, it's anyone's guess. The pattern on the hourly does make me think, you know, leads me to want to be looking for shorts a little bit more than longs. But we'll see how the morning unfolds here. Won't want to be too biased, but it's kind of my thought process so far. We do have a second entry long happening right now. And to be honest, like I would be in this trade if it wasn't at the time that it is. I don't want to be in a trade going into market open volatility. But this was the second attempt, this pullback. First attempt to go long, second attempt right here. So long above, stop out right here, looking for full extension above. Not a bad setup at all. Right off the moving average, 5 minutes trying to hold the moving average. It lines up nicely, but time of day kind of prevents me from taking a trade. Looks like we are maybe even going to get there before open. Nice. Wow. Been circling these a lot lately, and like the hour before open, there's been setups happening. But I currently don't trade other than the 2.5 hour period that I do. So I'm not trying to add in other variables for the time being, but still worth noting to add to the journal for the future. This looks great. Be trying to hold for an actual check above 38.25. Just got to be real careful that we don't fail a breakout. That would cause me to like exit the trade instantly, but potentially take a short as well. just because we were leaning towards potentially, you know, short momentum. But we'll see how it plays out. See how the morning goes here with our opening volatility. And then we'll go from there. So it looks really good. Maybe the opening volatility will work in the trade's favor and, you know, give us a nice push, but there's your extension exit. Actually only broke out by one tick and got sells, so that would be an immediate, you know, exit of position. And a potential failed breakout would play into, you know, us getting downward pressure. Didn't close at the low or anything yet. Still hasn't gone more than one tick though. Oh, there we go. So we can move our green long line up to here. So we just have to be careful and remember there's more news coming out at 11. It's a pretty strong push. Got quite a reaction off of the moving average retest, even though we did have a very bearish top pattern. Big bear body. Retesting our high. If we can hold, break up again, be quite bullish. Get a push back up and test yesterday's high. Good morning. Kind of an indecision candle after the bear candle. Chart opened up pretty much exactly where we closed yesterday. Still hesitating up here. First candle to make a high. Is it going to try to go from that? It's trying. Holding double top so far. Decent candle close. There we go. So it held its retest. I mean, this is a pretty big green hourly candle. It's kind of leaning me towards the other side. We did have a really nice kind of failed breakout pattern happening up here, push us all the way back down to the swing low, but we're all the way back up here. So the belief may be changing. You know, people seems to be more long push than short side. We are almost to yesterday's high point. We're right there. 46, 42 or 43, 46, 43, yesterday's high. It looks like it wants to test above it. Not huge candles at the open today so far. Long 41. You might get 43 right here. Definitely wants to try get over yesterday's high. Yesterday's high close, yeah, 46, 43. Yeah, there you go. Tagged her right there. There's your fill. Nice. So there's our push over yesterday's high. See what kind of reaction we get here. Definitely found some selling, some profit taking. Makes sense. Rejection of that test above the high so far. Found some buyers off the moving average. We're kind of, both people are active at extremes of this small area right now. See kind of which way that it goes. I'm going to be very cautious approaching 11, up until 11 especially. Unless something like really, really lines up perfectly. That's a big wick. We've got 2 minutes on this 5-minute candle close. If we can get another push to the high, that will close as a large hanging man candle, which does show us that there is good sell pressure up here. So if we got a second attempt failure, could be a decent short opportunity. There's our extension. We did close above, so we're trying to see if we can hold the retest. not getting a strong rejection sign of any kind, and the body of this candle is getting bigger and bigger, so it's, you know, not really forming the way that you would expect for a failure hanging man at all. So bullish pressure is just the dominant force still. Got a few stair steps now out of that two-legged pullback, all that never broke the previous stair step, so it's a strong push. Got above yesterday's high. I think that now put us above the overnight swing point. It did. $46, $47. These are pretty important levels. Mark these. Would be areas of liquidity just past these lines big time. Got a doji top, getting some sells now. Right off of the test of the high. We're definitely into some liquidity up here. Do we get a failure break here? One tick. We have a hanging man and a doji, even though it is closing green. We have a one tick poke right now. Oh, there we go. Still going. We're above that other swing point now. $10.48. Ooh. Big bear close, which, I mean, we knew that there was some sell pressure up here off the doji close on the hanging man. Went a little bit higher, rejected all the way back down to the low of the hanging man. No setup though, because our, you know, our signal information candle is huge. It basically already retraced the move back to the moving average. No 2-bar, no inside reversal at the high. Nothing to get short from. We are finding significant sell pressure compared to the rest of the session so far at the liquidity points, so, you know, makes sense for profit taking, makes sense for shorting. We'll see if there's follow through. there is definitely pressure stepping in, not even allowing the bounce off the moving average to gain anything. Found some bids here. We're on our 5th candle. We did find some bids here. This next candle ends up going lower without going higher. It qualifies for our one-time like momentum reversal entry because we were trending up and then we had a quick, you know, pull in the opposite direction. So that first pullback entry is what I look for, but depending on how long it takes to set up, it's going to be setting up right into the 11 o'clock news. So looks like bids are still present. It's not going to set up anyway. Yeah, bids are still present. Liquidity would be right above this last candle, so like 45, 45.20. Right there. See if the market reacts negatively from there or if we pop back up. We're popping back up some still. Same kind of concept. Hammer up here is bad. Should we start in here? Bad. So quick move down, quick move right back up. So we got 5 minutes till news release. Here comes that retest of the high. Buyers are strong today. I figured we would have ran into sellers before now visually, so it's like it's kind of making me rethink my thesis, that's for sure. Similar situation happening here that happened right here, right? We get that topping pattern on the 1 hour chart. This one actually even went lower, but then spiked right back up, which technically is like the megaphone pattern trapping. It's kind of similar happening here. This one never went lower before we came high, but that was a really nice, like, you know, fail breakout pattern to play back to the downside. We have a 1 tick poke and a full engulf candle happening here. Very strong. Short signal. Good at going. They step in and it goes really quickly, really far. $57. 3 minutes. As much as I want to limit short rate here, I know that I shouldn't based on the time. I need to wait. I don't want to get caught in that 11 o'clock volatility unless I think that I could get in and out of the trade in under like that 2 minutes, right? But I don't know that I can. Never actually gave the limit order retest. Very strong topping pattern so far. All right, let's see what happens here. About to roll over. We're still holding. That's the retest. Looks like a failure of a failure. Just a lot of failures. see if they check the stop outs and then this market does come back down, or if this is, you know, we are gonna squeeze and continue to the upside. Got rejected so far, didn't close above. Just gonna be patient for a minute or two, let it work itself out. Not really sure which side I'm interested in. You know, my thought process going into the open this morning was short, but I've been proven wrong pretty much all morning. Anytime we start to set up short, it loses, goes the other way. Not really ever setting up properly for me. Say this looks okay, but I mean, it looked okay both of these times too. The signal bar being way too big though, and never giving a retest of entry, but never breaking lows. That's the key factor here. Buyers are still, you know, willing to buy more. Still holding though. It's kind of like right in the middle. Just got to be patient here. Got to be patient. Existing home sales were down marginally compared to what they expected, but higher than the last report. And consumer confidence report was higher than they expected and also higher than last time. One minute left on this 5-minute candle. Looks pretty gnarly right now, but not sure where it's going to close. You could read this top on the hourly chart as like a pretty nasty trading range. Maybe we're rejecting the top of the trading range. Needs to hold basically pretty close to where it is now for it to, you know, try to continue to the upside with momentum. Holding above, you know, these previous highs. Definitely didn't close the nicest, that's for sure. It looks bad visually for longs. But at the same time, I don't have like a, you know, an action to take with it. Kind of channeling, kind of wedging. Failed to break out there. Let's see if it actually breaks down here. equal lows so far with the most recent swing that pushed our high. I don't know. Are we gonna fail to break out of the bottom of the little wedge as well? Definitely buyers in the market low and sellers above. We're kind of not really coiling, but wedging, channeling, whatever. For now, I don't really have confidence either way, if I'm being honest. I'd like to say that we found sellers. This is the double top, like the retest, which is where I look to trade. Didn't get a clean entry signal because it was too big. No retest. Market went back down to the low. We're at 10:59 at this point, so people are going to wait for the news. Market kind of gets some news, gets some volatility. We break out, we test the stops again. Market comes back down and inevitably does what it was going to do off of the double, but because there was a news event involved, it got volatile. Maybe. It's a lot of what ifs. Definitely trying to not lose this wedge. On a smaller time frame, we kind of have a higher low entry, like W happening, but it's about all that's happening right now. We got 1 minute left on this 5-minute candle. Are we gonna close right back up in the middle, right at the mean again, or are we gonna actually close on an extreme here? Not really a lot of information given, other than we didn't close at an extreme. We still have actually not broken the 5-minute swing point. We've tested it to the tick, but we're right back into the middle. So kind of greasy. Kind of greasy. Well, bids are coming in. What do you think? One time, are you chilling? You're sitting on your hands, bud? Retesting these tops, pulled back, retest the moving average. I mean, if it can hold this next step, then there's a good chance we test the top side. If it fails here, then maybe not, but if we can hold above here again, then I guess the next spot for us to test is the top side. Not really clean trade opportunities for me, though. Yeah, you could absolutely be right. Yep. We had what, 3 red economic releases this morning too? So there would be a lot of bag adjustments potentially. Lots of orders be flowing into the market completely based on that. Volume looks minimal, small. We have 130,000 contracts for A period, which is low, very low. You can see down here, average I would say is like 150-ish to 200. 200 to 300 is like very high. I mean, these days I had 300, it was extremely high. Those are big volatility open mornings, usually drive conditions aggressively in a direction. Out of the past week, this is actually the lowest volume A period we've had. So do with that as you will. Yeah. Real choppy here. Not really a clear direction. Other than you can argue that we are technically holding higher lows and making higher highs. I mean, I guess here it did test below the most recent swing that pushed a high. It didn't close below it though. And now we're trying to grind back up again. So that was the test. We pulled back, we tested the tops, we tested the moving average. If it held, the next spot for us to test is back to the top of the wedge. Here we are. See if we can actually break out with any kind of conviction, or if we just keep wedging. Yeah, we have very minimal volume and 3 red economic releases this morning. Yeah, 100%. I haven't had a single signal yet. I've had some context that started to get me interested, and then it proved me wrong with no signal trigger, nothing. We are breaking out now. See if we hold. Not making it really to the next liquidity point that I have marked. Not quite yet. Swing point here, swing point there. Yeah, 57 and a quarter, and then I mean the big one would be here at 68-ish. And then we've got nothing. That's it. If we get back up above 68 and could hold with any kind of confidence, there's not another one till the high. Big gap here. We've got to achieve these levels and then, you know, hold. And if we can, ultimately this one being the big one, getting above that red line and then holding, could see this market quickly retake that move, just like happened when it went through that area on the way up and the way down. Low volume area, not a lot of back and forth, but we'll see. So far, it is holding its retest of the high it broke out of, which is bullish. Trend continuation. We're 20 minutes into B period. Yeah, volume is very low. So high one entry failed. Pulling back a little deeper. Well, that's a decent signal candle after that bigger pullback. There's the trigger. $49. That retest looks really good. Like, this is the two-legged pullback back towards the moving average, but with our volume today and what's happened so far, kind of with the size of my signal candle, my stop needs to be bigger than 1-to-1 just for extension, which I generally don't allow myself to take. I need my target on extension to be almost 2-to-1. The target extension for this one isn't even quite 1-to-1. In case it does a one tick poke, I don't ever want to not be able to take my profits off the one tick poke fail and it not amount to even 1-to-1. It's not worth the risk for me. Did play out. We did get another extension. Didn't fail at 1-to-1. our setup here on the 5-minute chart, if this candle comes down and closes lower than this body, we have a very strong reversal up here happening. Big bar compared to the previous bars. Inside bar, hanging man, test above, close back down below. If it played out that way. Again though, like my brain, I keep being interested in like the trend reversal or fading these moves, and it's really proven me wrong today to try to do that so far. I'm watching closely up here. It's a double top. Do we close back below? Minute and a half. If this candle can close below the previous candle body, it's not going to. Nope. This market would have to dump in 30 seconds to make this close the way that I'd want to see it to fade it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, bro. It's almost fucking, that's kind of wild. Jeez. That's kind of funny. I wanted to see if I could get the 1 minute pattern to execute off of to get the better entry for the 5-minute chart. But they didn't. They waited to the very end and then just dumped it. Bastards. This retest though. I like it. I'm gonna take it. Even though it is scary. It did exactly what I wanted and then gave me the entry, so if it squeezes me out, it squeezes me out. Certainly looks like it wants to squeeze me out. Very large risk reward potential though if it doesn't. See if sellers can hold us. If we can get a candle to make a low, I can remove some risk, but Kind of teasing me. It's been no option yet to remove any risk. There's a couple big sells that took place again, but again, man, like there is buyers catching it. Still trying to be patient. Have had no opportunity to remove risk. So still just being patient. Got 1 minute left in this 5-minute candle. Let's see if they squeeze me out right here, or if the sellers are still strong enough. Nah, 5-minute candle closed high. Oh, did they step back in? Are they stepping back in? I am able to remove a little bit of risk now finally, but that's it. Buyers are still sitting in that same spot. I just don't want my stop there. I just don't. I want to make sure that I can at least hold if it does a double top or a 1-tick poke. Ah, there we go. Greasy. It was so nasty. That was yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That was about as whipsawy as it could get right there. It's like kind of the perfect, it literally gave me exactly what I wanted to see as far as like getting short. I really couldn't not take it. And then it even really teased it a few times, but I could just tell, man, those buyers were relentless every time. Every time this market has huge negative pattern today, buyers catch it before it actually follows through any kind of like stop out slide point. Never get it. Never got it. The buyers were too strong. Minimal risk though for really what could have been really high reward. So take the trade 10 out of 10 times, just didn't follow through. And then as far as like minimizing some risk, technically this candle finally went back lower than a few, so it allowed me to maybe adjust to that swing point. But then I was literally only eliminating 2 ticks of risk for what could then stop me out from a double top or a 1 tick poke, which I just did not want to. I mean, the stop out was in the right location, so I was just left it there. Not worried about 2 ticks for the potential of it saving the trade. But I mean, I get out where I got out so that I can prevent this, but it like, what a push. Definitely lots of people were getting involved like I was, which I mean, this is the squeeze, the short squeeze. Good opportunity though. I'm glad that I took it, and I'm glad I managed it the way that I did. So no big deal. Take that setup every time. How'd our volume close? Like, you can see the relative volume at the bottom. First half an hour, second half an hour, and then what we're in now. It gets very, very low compared to the normal first 2 candles. That's for sure. So the market really did show me multiple times today now. I was looking short, kept getting potential failure opportunities. None of them worked. None of them worked through back here. And then this one also didn't work. The bulls are just too strong. So I'm on the wrong side of the market today. So we broke through. Did we make it to our major? Not quite yet. We're almost there. The major liquidity point we were looking at, 68. Very close. Got some inside action here off this big one with a 1-tick poke above it, but so slight hesitation, but that's it. That's all we've got so far. Strong trend day. We're like right there. We're within a couple points now. Surprising, really. Like, really low relative volume. But it didn't matter. There were substantially stronger buyers every time the market tried to fail. Man, you could literally be buying long on pretty much any pullback. Nutty. Nutty. We're right there. This is our major liquidity line. We are now above it. So this will be an important spot for me for the market. As long as we don't reject this level, maybe put in a little bit of accumulation up here, we could see, you know, a large move continue. we have achieved the major liquidity zone. So I'm like, there's definitely profit taking happening. We've gone quite far. I'm at that weird point where it took me so long to maybe accept that like longs were in much more control than I realized. We've gone so far now that it's like, I don't really want to be a long up here. But then at the same time, it's like trend's been so strong. Not getting, a sell signal to trade off of either, but literally every time that I've been given any kind of sell idea at all, it has failed today. So I don't want to give up on being a seller, because now we have actually achieved where, we were trying to get to. And we are definitely extended. That's a pretty big move. I'm definitely nervous. I can feel it. I can feel the nervousness to step in front of this again, which I'm trying to not let be part of the equation. And if like a good signal sets up, then to try it. But we'll see if that happens. Oh, sorry, man. Definitely don't want to make you nervous. The trend is extremely strong. Anytime that there's been sellers in this market, I'm trying to look at it objectively. Anytime there's been sellers in this market so far, and we've teased a potential reversal, it has failed. Buyers were stronger and they did not allow it to reverse, and the market has continued higher. Now we've been giving two opportunities on the 5-minute chart that did look like potential reversal happening, both have which failed, and it definitely shows that sellers gave up after the second one, because now we've literally just spiked straight off it. So objectively, that's, we can look at it that way. Sellers definitely backed off after the second attempt, and the buyers got their big rally for sure. Now we also have achieved the location on the chart that made sense for us to get to off of that drive. So we are finding profit taking. We're finding a little bit of selling. We have a potential failed breakout happening here. I'm going to try one more time. It is a nice signal. Looking for kind of like a little nice moving average retest. Trying to stay objective. It is a good signal at the good liquidity point. Just a bunch of inside indecision here happening. We have a little flat top over these couple candles now that we've checked one tick above. Can we reject it? Be pretty important. There are some situations where I've read a lot of stuff about how certain times people will deploy a time restriction to their what they need to see as well. I've never done that before, but it's interesting because there's situations where, kind of like what happened here, and I'll be honest, what is happening here again, where the market is teasing like a pullback or a reversal, and generally you would expect it to happen, you know, or start to work relatively quickly with like the idea of what the trade actually is, right? And then it really like stalls and stalls and stalls and doesn't actually start to play out the way that it should in an X amount of time. We pulled back and then we made a low, so I can remove some risk here because I don't want it if we break back above here, because then we'll actually have a two-legged pullback that technically now had fired. So definitely don't want it versus that. We do not want it to come back up above 71.75. Would like to see it come right back down and break below 69.50 with some sort of confidence. Which technically was only one tick below there. It's really messy again. Okay, can we get below? Double bottom right back up in again. 30 seconds on this candle. The longer it took, the closer the moving average gets to me, which is not ideal. It's our first test. 68. See if we get any kind of follow through here. Okay. I mean, the trade is for the moving average touch, right? Even though the moving average was down here when I originally took it, it's taken way too long for that trade to play out the way that it should have off of that. So the moving average has caught up, and I don't want to see it come back. I'll be happy with what I got. In case there's buyers at the moving average, we are trying to get under it, but we'll see, right? I don't want to push my luck with what we've seen so far. Yeah, I tried very hard to just stay systematic, objective. Couldn't let that one go by. It was another good signal off of a good location, and we are extremely pushed, like stretched. Had to try. But I wasn't going to be greedy with it. Not a day to be fading this move and being greedy, that's for sure. Not yet, anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry one time if I influenced you, man, with anything there. I definitely don't mean to. I just talk a lot for myself. Okay, good. We are holding. I mean, this is why I didn't want to get greedy. Where people are trying to buy this moving average hold. Basically, almost be back now to break even. I'll be happy with what the market gave me. See what happens on this high retest. This seems like a good time to go pee. I'll be right back. Get some coffee. All right. Back to the highs. New high. So this is relatively important because now we've broken into the liquidity area right above 68. We've now back tested it and held and are making a new high. So as long as we can hold, there's a, I mean, this market could continue up aggressively. But if it fails, then we could still be just barely into the liquidity pocket and may give a pullback, but see how she goes. Yeah. The moving average, like the 20 moving average, man, is so powerful in this market. In the S&P 500 futures, if it's a trending market, that 20 moving average is so powerful. And I mean, that's why I revolve all of my strategies around it. My mean reversion trades, the further it is from it, the better, because I fade it to it. And then my trend continuation trades, I also take based off of the moving average location. The two-legged pullback, so like the reason that I wasn't interested in longing here was for two reasons, though, is because One, I knew that we had broken into like where I assume the liquidity is, and I'm not, interested to get involved in what I don't know what will happen. But second being, this was a potential double top reversal, so I don't take a two-legged pullback off of a potential reversal. Now, if this would have not broken a new high and then rolled over first, and we just did like, let's just say we were pushing up, kind of pull back, try to go but fail, and then pull back a second time and then touch it, that is like, that is the AAA setup. That's what happened back here, right here. We had a new trend starting to form, break up over the first pullback to the moving average. No candles make a high until right here. So this is the first attempt to long. It fails. Second attempt to long right here, right off the moving average. Boom. Now, there's no way that I would be still holding this trade, but that is the two-legged pullback to the moving average reaction is very, very powerful in the right context. But I know that a lot of people trade off that moving average, or it seems to respect it very well. So that's why I use it as a target location for when I go against trend. A little bit of flagging happening up here. I kind of flubbed the bag on my Bitcoin position that I had open. As soon as this market started like going big time bullish, I knew I should have closed my Bitcoin short, and I just didn't. It stopped me out now. It was a trade on the hourly chart from a while ago. I said it to myself in my head too. I was like, the futures are not reacting like how I anticipated. I should close this trade. And I just didn't. I flubbed the bag a little there. Yeah, no worries, man. That's just all my observation too. Like, I don't really have any kind of book or anything that says that I should do that. That's totally just based off my time and observations. How's our volume holding up here? C period closed equal with B, which makes sense, I guess, because we had that big push. Scares me when we're this far. When we're this far away from a moving average. It's like a magnet. When it gets that far extended, it likes to snap back. And my trend extension entries become less and less viable. I will be here tomorrow, yes. It will be my last day, or I guess it'll be everyone's last day because it's closed on Friday. I'm not sure. I have stuff to do tomorrow in the afternoon, but I technically am home during that trade window. So I think I am going to be here. Is it half day tomorrow or half day Friday? I know the stock market's closed Friday, but I didn't actually look at futures. Futures holiday 2021. CME group holiday calendar. 23rd to the 27th. Wants me to open it in a spreadsheet? Jeez. It says includes the following days, the 23rd to the 27th. Which is tomorrow. Trading hours. So yes, tomorrow is regular close, I believe. Friday is closed altogether, I think. Yeah. So tomorrow's regular day, and then Friday is just closed. Cool. So yeah, I will be here tomorrow. Going to probably have my, real cautious glasses on, I guess, the day before a holiday. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't have enough experience trading around like holidays and the day before holidays. And I know I don't trade on half days and I don't trade on any of that type of stuff. But the day before a holiday, I don't know what to expect. Don't expect much. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Even today, the volume was exceptionally light, but I mean, whew, look at what happened, even off light volume. But so, like, we'll see. I will be here, though. That's the bottom line. Be here chilling. Just might not be trading. Might just observe the day. So I want to take a second and say something here. We just talked about the two-legged pullback to the moving average. Technically, it happened right here, right? And it did fail. We had our little attempt to hold above here off a quick push up. This red candle technically did go higher. So this was the first attempt to long, high one entry. It failed. Come down, basically touch our moving average. Second candle right here, this went higher, so second entry long. Pretty good setup. Now the only reason that this is disqualified and I can't take this is the location of the chart. We are so extended, man, from this moving average on the 5-minute chart, because the 5-minute chart is my guide. The 5-minute chart presentation has to make sense. Like I'm ideally trading the 5-minute chart. My 1-minute chart is my execution, and like I like to see the 5-minute pattern that I want to see, and then I use the 1-minute micro price action at the extreme points to try to get in for the larger time frame. It's kind of how I do it. And because this chart, I know, did show weakness here, we did get a quick pop, but then immediately started to show weakness on top of, we're just so far away from the moving average that like I cannot take trend continuation trades when we are that far. I just can't do it. The success rate goes down so much when we are that far stretched. So candlestick pattern wise, yes, there's a trade here, but context wise on the actual like trade chart that I use, it's not there. So I cannot deploy the candlestick pattern. The candlestick pattern is like my entry trigger system, but context wise, not interested. Ideally, my proper setup situation happens with I'm in the right context that I want, and then I stalk the candlestick price action to get in that I like to see when I'm in the right context. All that makes sense together. Yeah. Bit of a spike, but we're approaching that same low that pushed our recent high. It makes sense for some profit taking. I feel like there was probably some shorts that were getting in this market that may have just got squeezed a little bit. I don't really have interest in either position. If I were to be a betting man, I would be more interested in a short side entry, still looking for this market to slowly correct now back to the moving average. It's been a long time since we've touched it, and this looks like potential topping pattern. the bullish scenario, the market would have held here, hold above what we gained, continue. Didn't happen. One-time situation all the way back down to the low. We are getting some buyers off here again, but not interested in being one of them. Man, I didn't even realize, like, I'm so zoomed in on this chart that we're actually showing tick numbers now on the price, whereas like the last few days it's like the total opposite. I'm like zoomed out so far that it's like 2 points in between the numbers. Very different compared to the last couple days. 1 minute candles being like 5 points, 6 points regularly for the whole morning session. Definitely not the case right now. Difficult day for me though. Difficult day. I'll be right back. I need to take this. All right, sorry about that. I realized I was sitting there typing on my screen too. Oh, we did extend. We did extend again. So we held that low, pushed another high. The bull trend is so powerful today. It's actually crazy. Normally, like, we've seen multiple legs up with pullbacks and then continuing. And I will say that normally in this market, we eventually, after a couple legs, we start to see maybe like a 2-leg pullback that breaks below some of these local lows and kind of just like, you know, evens out a little bit. But that is not the case today. There has never been a low that's been broken. It's impressive, really. I don't see that often. I mean, that all being said, the fact that the condition is not normal, I'm glad I didn't get wrecked. That's a good thing, I guess, right? I'm learning more and more how important it is. Like, my journaling is definitely helping me. Like, I mean, I've always journaled, but like the way that I'm journaling now, it is helping me be able to trade more opportunities. Like, even this week compared to last week, I have more trades, but still needs to be even more. Like, last week was a really good example of how I undertraded, and if I would have taken every systematic approach and managed it the way that it should have been managed, I, you know, had a really, really good week. And then this week now is slightly different. But still, if I would take every approach systematically, you know, the losers would be relatively small, and I'd still be having some small winners here and there and stuff. And like, the condition is always changing. But being able to take the trade setup the same, it does equal out profitable in the long run. But in the past, what would happen is, for example, I would really struggle to maybe take trades systematically in good times, and then I would really, really force it in maybe bad times. And then because I had negative results, because I was, you know, unable to pull the trigger all the time, it seemed like I was, it was like it was like a circle. I would see the system work. I would be like seeing the system work over and over and over, and it would grow my confidence to the point where I would start then pulling the trigger. And then it's like, well, you know, probably you're never going to win all the time, right? You're going to have lots of winners and lots of losers. And I would just all of a sudden have seen the winners happen and be like, all right, well, it's time to start taking the trades. And then inevitably I would end up taking the loser a couple times, and it would just like kill my confidence right away. And then I would struggle again to trade. And then it would take me a few days of observing, and it'd be like, look, like, your stuff's working. Like, why are you sitting on your hands so often? And then I'd start trading it again, and then same thing would happen, right? I'd get like mixed results because, you know, I'm not taking every opportunity at all. And then the same circle again, again, and again, and again. So that is, I'm still definitely battling that emotion, but I'm slowly turning the page. Like, I feel like I'm slowly getting out of it. This week has just been a little iffy. There really hasn't been a huge amount of opportunities that I've wanted. I will say yesterday was a good learn day for me, because I noticed right away that there was like one of my three systems was missing a clear definition in part of the rules, because I was stuck yesterday. The situation presented 3 times, and I didn't pull the trigger on it any of the 3 times, because as soon as I missed it the first time, I questioned like the rule. I was like, already, that was it. Like, that's all it took for my brain to then basically get sidetracked and not want to trade that system anymore until I figured it out better. I need to have it more systemized so that I don't have to make that decision at the time, because the opportunity presented and I was like, okay, is it legit? Do I take it? And I couldn't answer the question. I honestly was like, because one of the big rules is it stretched? Is it stretched or is it not stretched? And it was like right on that line where it was like kind of stretched, but not like super stretched. And because there wasn't a clear definition, I couldn't actually say, yes, it is, no, it's not. So I didn't trade it, right? I couldn't actually tell. So I went yesterday after I was done trading, I actually went back through and I made a better definition for that part of the rule. I didn't really change anything. I just made a more clear definition so that I don't have to question it at the point in time. It's like, is it stretched? Yes. Is it not stretched? No. Because I just couldn't tell. I couldn't decide if it was or wasn't. So now at least when I go through that checkbox for that strategy, now I have a clear definition. Is it stretched? No. Okay, pull the trigger. Don't change. Yeah, no, absolutely. You absolutely, yeah. I'm at a point where I'm nearly not changing anything in my strategies right now. I'm basically really trying to just get better at just doing them. And then, I mean, yesterday I did, like I said, I did add a clear definition to one of my rules so that I didn't like hum and haw as much. I don't like if my system makes me question something, meaning like when I'm about to pull the trigger, I only have like seconds, if that. So I need to not have to sit there and think on if it's real or not. I need to just know. It's like, yes, this checkbox, this checkbox, this checkbox, okay, it's go. And be ready. I can't be like on the third checkbox rule and be like, well, I don't actually know if it is or not, because then I hum and haw and I like try to come up with a reason in my head, which is we're just totally not being systematic at that point. So I had to fix that. I think this is pretty much going to be my cutoff. It's 12:40 now. I will be interested to see if this happens. Whoops, I don't want to remove that. That's not what I wanted to do either. Don't mind me. It's very common that you get a spike and then channel formation in a very, very bullish market. We are in a very bullish market, and we did have a very clear spike that went through a pretty large area. This buy up rate here, kind of already, I wasn't truly prepared for. I wasn't anticipating that at all. So we'll see if that is the start to a channel in a real bullish move, or like a really strong trend, I should say. It doesn't matter if it's bullish or bearish, but when the trend finally gives up, or when the opposite force gives up and you get that big spike clearing like a big distance, then often you see like a diagonal channel in the direction with the trend, which is like crazy bullish. In which case, you know, after it channels for a bit, the perfect opportunity to get in with the trend is the first time that it breaks the channel. It often will retest near the low of where the channel started and then continue. I want to, for science, I want to see if that's how this market develops today. Yeah, no, correct. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, most of the time it's me. Most of my trading difficulties are just me. I'm my own worst enemy, for sure. My emotional like battle and psychological hurdles are my big, you know, learn time into becoming like a profitable trader, for sure. I can take a strategy and adjust it and back test it and make it make money. Like nice, you know, be very profitable back testing it. But then I can forward test it and deploy it and absolutely fumble it because I'm not systematic enough. And like, you know, that's why today, that's why I did this right here. Even though like I took a step back, even though I was kind of stuck mentally, I re-talked out what was happening in the market, and I knew that this was the next setup, it was happening right as I was doing it. You know, I got to take it, right? Systematic approach to the strategy says that you take this. And then I managed it exactly how I was supposed to, took the target out right where I'm supposed to, and I was able to make back my loser on the day. Where I'll be honest and say, even 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have done that, right? I would have finished the day with the one losing trade and probably not taken the next setup. Only because pure emotion, right? Not wanting to lose a second trade. That's all just human error. That's all just me not being truly systematic or, you know, being disciplined. I've had no good signals since this one. So we're approaching the bottom side of that channel. We'll see if we get any kind of continuation in the channel still. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Have a good day, dude. I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go through and do my review now. We started off this morning almost exactly where we closed yesterday. And at the point in time, I was definitely not expecting what happened today. Looking at the hourly chart, we had a pretty nice failed breakout pattern playing out to the point where it actually played out all the way back down to retest the swing low. Did not break that swing low though, and when the session opened this morning, we had much stronger buyers in the market than sellers. There was a beautiful two-leg pullback that happened right here early on in potential trend reversal. It happened just before market open though, and just still currently I don't trade out of the same hours that I'm used to trading because I don't want to change anything. It's good to keep recording these in case, you know, in the future I do decide to, keeping track of this stuff. Anyway, so the trade played out nicely, but moving on, when the market opened, we were patient, we watched. The market got up here and I wasn't really interested in being a buyer or a seller. I was kind of like confused a little bit because I went into the market this morning with a relatively strong short opinion, but it never really amounted to anything. I was never given a good opportunity to get short off of. I was really interested here. We were getting the double retest with a one tick poke, but our rejection candle was huge with no retest of entry. So there was no trade that went through here. It retested the low, and as it was going back down, I was kind of accepting that I was going to be left out of this trade, but at least the confirmation of what was happening would then maybe allow me to get into another opportunity, and I was still going to be playing to the short side. The market never broke down. It held the same low, and it came right back up and pushed a new high. Now I was like really humming and hawing. I really wasn't interested in being a buyer or a seller now at all. I was completely neutral. So I sat on my hands. The market came down. It did break just below the most recent swing, but never closed below it. Kind of put in a higher low reversal pattern, and then ultimately came all the way back up and started to spike above. Now, I was kind of starting to like, I guess, give up on the short side here. And I was watching, we did form a nice two-legged pullback here, but I didn't take it. I didn't take this trade because of how the market had developed so far. I was confused. I wasn't strong leaning into shorts, and maybe this was a mistake on my behalf. Maybe I should have understood that, because my opinion was, even if I get rid of the opinion, right? Like, the presentation of the short selling here really was a good bait, and like the market proved that it was stronger, right? Bulls were definitely stronger. So when this popped up with any kind of like size as it did, that pullback is retesting what we broke out of. It is kind of a beautiful two-leg pullback. And I did think about it. At the time, I definitely thought about it, and I was like, this is the two-leg pullback happening right now. Well, I should be in this. I should take it. I didn't, because, like, for two reasons. I was definitely mentally confused. Mentally confused. I was definitely slightly just, off at this point, because what I was wanting to see just never happened, and the market was kind of showing me over and over and over that my analysis was like incorrect multiple times. So when that happens, it's not only is it draining, but it's making me a lot more cautious, because I'm accepting that I'm not reading the market correctly. So that was basically why I didn't do it. I guess straight up, I was emotionally drained at this point, to the point where I didn't believe in the setups anymore today, because it was kind of showing me multiple times that I was wrong. Now, this one did happen, and I mean, technically that's not part of the equation. Systematically, that should not be part of the equation, and I should have been in this trade, but human error prevented it from happening. What could have happened? Oh, that's right. The other reason at the current time was because of the size of our signal candle. The size of our signal candle was actually bigger than what I was going to get off a one-tick poke, one-to-one exit. I always have to prepare for the market to potentially one-tick poke and fail. So I want to make sure that I'm at least like 1.5, maybe ideally 2 risk to reward on this type of entry. And it just wasn't there. I wasn't even going to get one-to-one off of a one-tick poke, or maybe barely one-to-one. So those two factors together, the risk to reward was not high enough, as well as I had already been proven wrong so many times. I had too many negative factors preventing me from trading. So that's why that trade was missed. Here we started topping, and it's kind of funny. We were watching closely, because at this point in time, we had closed as a big push bar and then closed as a small inside at the top as like a potential, hanging man. This looks really good for potential reversal. Again, maybe that was the wrong mindset, because we had already been proven that the reversal tried to happen and the market was just too bullish. But I was still there. I was still focused on that side. We were watching, and I was like, this other 5-minute candle was forming, the one that closed low here. This is my perfect reversal pattern for a quick push in the opposite direction back to the moving average as first profit target. Now, the price was up here, and I said, this market has to close with this candle lower than our indecision candle close for this to be, a good clean entry. And it wasn't. It was humming and hawing and staggering, and we were 30 seconds left on that 5-minute candle close. And we said, man, wouldn't it be funny if it just like dumped in 30 seconds? And it did. It literally did exactly that. So that, it's set up perfectly. It did exactly what I wanted. I had to take the trade. This popped back up. I went short right where it made sense to for the retest of the entry, and I ended up holding through this sideways accumulation. Market came back down, and it teased it, man. It teased it a few times. There was a few candles through here that actually like spiked straight down and then ended up closing up. And it happened a few times. And then even this one went all the way back down. It kept giving hope and it kept looking okay, but never, it was showing me that it was getting bought up, right? Like as it was every time this market tried to fail, it was just getting bought up and getting bought up, and it just couldn't go. And there was the opportunity here to remove 2 ticks of risk. I wasn't interested in it though, because I was willing to accept those 2 extra ticks of risk for the possibility that this market tags the top or does a 1 tick poke and then tries to go again. I was absolutely willing to accept that because it does happen. So I wasn't going to, I started to in the replay, I did remove the 2 ticks of risk, but then I put it back because I really wanted to give it that extra 2 ticks of room. Anyways, it did stop me out. And I mean, stop it was in the perfect location because the market literally spiked right after. So it shows that pattern definitely got a lot of people involved in the wrong direction, and they did get squeezed out, that's for sure. So moving on, there was no other opportunity. I do want to say that there was nothing about this trade that I would manage differently. Take this trade 10 out of 10 times. I don't really have anything else to say about it or any adjustments to be made. It just didn't work. So then we didn't get another signal till all the way up here. Market was hella stretched at this point, and we knew that at some point we needed to start to show a reversal pattern on a double top test. We got it right here. So I went short, as soon as we closed the bullish bar and then had the trigger that went below it, gave a tiny little buy up. So I took the limit entry to give a couple ticks of cheaper risk. And I was looking to take this for a quick move down to the moving average. Now, at the time of entry, the moving average was quite a bit lower, but this trade took a long time to accumulate through here, which I don't really like, to be honest. I was nervous, but I knew that systematically the trade wasn't invalid. I couldn't do anything about it. I had to take the trade. I like the presentation, even though it was a very bullish day, I just wasn't going to get greedy with it. So when the market came down and starting to work for me, the moving average had really caught up, and I got greedy for a second because we closed on the low, and I waited to see how this next candle was forming. And then as soon as it started to flicker back and forth, so I'm not going to get greedy. The trade mean reversion is to take it back to the moving average. So that's what I'm going to do. Took it out at the moving average, and I'm glad that I did. I was able to execute that trade mechanically. Nothing about this trade either I would change. I did remove some risk to the swing point that was put in here after it presented and then went lower. So I did that part how I wanted to as well, and didn't get greedy with the profit target. Was happy with what the market gave me. And I just had to absolutely be aware that the market was extremely bullish and I was technically stepping in front of a train here. So gotta be careful and take what I can get and be happy. Market respected the 20 MA, came right back up. Now we did set up a 2-legged pullback to the moving average, which fired right here. No trade signal though, because at the time, the 5-minute chart, our moving average was very, very far away. Not interested in the 5-minute chart is everything, right? We use the 1-minute chart as the execution for the 5-minute chart context. The 5-minute chart context was that we were already starting to find sellers. We did push up one more time. We're starting to find sellers again relatively quickly with no hold above extension. And we were very, very far away from the moving average. The further we get, and the further, the more stair steps that we've done, and the further we get, the less likely that trend continuation pattern works. I cannot take that trade setup when we are that far away from it. It just doesn't make sense. So no trade setup. Now, market did come down and put in a higher low reversal, still respecting the overall swing, and did put in a new high. So the bids are still here. this is looking more and more like it is developing into the spike and channel formation, which is what we expect off an extremely aggressive trend. We get, you know, some hesitation in the trend a little bit, and then eventually they give up. We broke out, and then we couldn't, we spiked, right? We covered quite a bit of ground relative to the day, and then we didn't find sellers again until up here. So it makes sense. We get a diagonal channel now with trend. Very, very common pattern. So we'll see how long that plays out. Eventually, we are going to come back down and test the low of it or lower and tag the moving average and do all that stuff. But very aggressive day, not a normal day. And I will say that all of this happened too off extremely low relative volume. Like A period had 130,000 contracts. B and C period were at 100. You know, I can accept B and C at being 100, still lower than normal by, like, you know, a good amount, but exceptionally low trading volume today for the move that happened. So interesting, for sure, interesting. But yeah, that's the day, that's the review. We did manage to close a tiny bit green, basically break even. Fees and commissions were $7. I mean, total I finished $30 green. But it is slight improvement compared to 3 weeks ago, I will say, because 3 weeks ago, I don't know that I would have taken that second trade systematically and been able to make back that loser, and probably would have closed the day on 1L. So, you know, there are some really good things that were done today. Those were the only two trade signals, or sorry, there was one here too, and then this pullback here that I definitely could have taken. I was just mentally drained at this point and wasn't really thinking in the clear. But yeah, that was her. That was the day. Goes to show that, you know, really do need to stay disciplined with the systematic approach, because it won't work if I don't. But yeah, we'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Not sure if I'm going to trade tomorrow. I'm kind of leaning towards no. I am going to be here and observe, but after today being as low volume as it is, I kind of anticipate even maybe lower volume tomorrow. Who knows? I don't have enough experience trading around like holidays and stuff like that. So we might just take it as an observation day tomorrow, see what we see. But yeah, see you guys tomorrow morning.